Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast for this fifth and final segment of the night. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning as they extend Victor Hedman but let Stamkos walk. Okay. If you're going to give Victor Hedman the exact same contract that he got when he went to the Victor Hedman got when as Steven Stamkos did when he went to the Nashville Predators in free agency, I think is absolutely criminal. That's just the take here, and we'll elaborate on this. Steven Stamkos got exactly an 8x4 in Nashville. Victor Hedman got an extension for 8x4. So you have the money to pay him the next 3 years, and the problem was they were worried about the decline for Steven Stamkos. Well, I'm gonna call BS because Victor Hedman is 2 years younger than Steven Stamkos, and you're giving a pretty similar contract. You're going to be paying Victor Hedman this much money until he's 39 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He was born December. Yeah, you're going to be paying him until he's 39 years old this money. Now they have $5.75 million in cap space. They had the money before free agency to go out and to re-sign Victor Hedman. They needed to offer him more than $3 million. That number to me is criminal. Steven Stamkos is I have it pulled up. Your career leader or your franchise leader in points at 1,056, goals at 515, hat tricks at 11, power play goals at 195, game-winning goals at 79, even strength goals at 315. Regular season games with 4 or more points at 17. In a single season, he has most goals in a single month, most goals in a single season at 60, most overtime goals in a single season at 6, most power play goals in a single season, most game-winning goals in a single season, most even strength goals in a single season. He was the captain of two Stanley Cup winning teams. Let's see his awards. He has won the he's 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He is a 9-time All-Star. He is a 2-time Maurice Richard winner. He was a World Cup of Hockey champion in 2016. It's just criminal, man. He was your captain for how many years? Your number 1 overall pick in 2008. Captained this team for so long, led this team to 2 Stanley Cup champions, never got a Conn Smythe, so I guess not the best player on the team in the 2 cup runs, but it's brutal. If I was Steven Stamkos, I would be hurt. I would be absolutely heartbroken. If the team that I gave so much of my, so much time and so much love to in a city I love so much did this to me, it would be hard. It's one thing if they just let Steven Stamkos walk. It's another thing to let Steven Stamkos walk, trade for Jake Guentzel, who has no ties to the Tampa Bay Lightning whatsoever, and sign him to a $9 million contract for the next 7 years. I get it. Jake Guentzel is probably a better player right now than Steven Stamkos is. Well, actually, if you look at the seasons each player had, Steven Stamkos just had an 82-point season with 42 goals in it. Jake Guentzel, let's look at his 2023-2024 season. As it was last season, last season it was 67 games played and 77 points, if I'm not mistaken. He did have 25 points in 17 games played in Carolina. So over a point per game player for Jake Guentzel, and you're getting that in return, paying him probably $2.5 million more than you were going to pay Steven Stamkos for a player that has no ties to Tampa Bay whatsoever. You also had to give up a pick. I believe they had to give up a second-round pick in next year's draft. Yes, it was a third-round pick in next year's draft for Jake Gensel. I think that is brutal. I get it if you believe that Jake Gensel makes your team better right now, and I think that's completely fair to say and completely true. It's still your best player in franchise history that you just let walk. And not just let walk, you offered him a contract. You offered him probably the most disrespectful contract that I've seen for a player of his caliber. $3 million for Steven Stamkos, that is your franchise leader in almost everything. That's just a spit in the face, truly, and it just is. A TSN writer that I follow, Jesse Pollock, tweeted out when they did extend Victor Hedman, and I completely agree with it. Let me pull up the tweet, make sure I get it correct here. Let me make sure I get this right here, if I can find it. It's pretty down his tweet history. I know he maybe he deleted the tweet. He might truly have deleted the tweet. I wouldn't be shocked, because I mean he was coming for the Victor Hedman move, and I completely agreed with it. But it does seem like he has deleted the tweet since then. But it was along the lines of how disrespectful it was to just have Steven Stamkos to offer. It wasn't just let him walk. You offered him $3 million. So now for the Tampa Bay Lightning, their forward group is still pretty good, but sans a superstar in Steven Stamkos, it's hard because a player is so loyal to a team that a team is just not loyal to him whatsoever, and I am pretty disappointed from this. So Jake Gensel is kind of just replacing him one for one on that top line. Braden Point jumps up to the first line center with Steven Stamkos gone now. Their second line has Brandon Hagel on it. It's just stinky. That's just not good enough to win. Their fourth line is awful as well, with Zemgus Gorgensons, Luke Glendening, and Mitchell Shafee. I don't like that fourth line whatsoever. Michael Asimont is not a good third line player. Connor Sheary's not a good third line player. I think the money that they're paying the players has kind of caught up to them, because you're paying 5 guys over $6 million, including Brandon Hagel, which I just think is awful. But it's Anthony Chiarelli, it's Jake Gensel, Brandon Hagel, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov that are paid, just forwards that are paid above $6 million. They're paying 3 defensemen above $5 million, and they have Andre Vasilevsky at $9.5 million. So their depth is disgusting. It just has caught up to them completely. What are the Tampa Bay Lightning doing, man? This is... look, I don't like this team that much. Of course, being a Blue Jackets fan, sweeping them in 2019 and then losing to them in the 2020 playoffs still stings in my recent memory, as that was the most recent playoff run the Blue Jackets had, is that 2020 7 overtime game for the in game 1 of that series. Still fresh on my mind how we lost that one and then proceeded to lose that series in 5. Unfortunate. It's just not you're just paying way too many guys way too much money, and you're going to need to... You don't really have a prospect pool, and that's another big part. You have Connor Geekie, who will play on this team, I believe, next season. You do have Ethan Gauthier, who I don't believe is too great of a player. But beyond that, not a great prospect pool. You really don't have a goalie in the prospect pool at all either. So for the Tampa Bay Lightning, we'll see what that looks like. I don't think that the team is as good as we expect them to be, but we'll see how it plays out in actuality. I don't have a crystal ball. I think that they could be outside of the playoffs next season, and I wouldn't be shocked. It kind of seems like a Buffalo Bills in the NFL scenario, where it's just like this team could be 7-9 or it could be 13-4, and I wouldn't be shocked either way. Honestly, it's for the Buffalo Bills and for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They could miss out on the playoffs entirely in a very competitive Atlantic, or they could just win 50 games and prove me completely wrong. I still think it's very hard. Like letting Steven Stamkos walk is not the right decision in my mind. But I'm not an NHL GM. There's a reason for that. I just talk on a podcast. So take what I say with a grain of salt, please. I'm not an NHL GM. However, I do think that it makes sense, what I say. So that'll wrap it up for this Wednesday edition of the GSMC Hockey Podcast. I will remind you guys, I will not be here for the next 2 days, but I do have shows coming at you. They are pre-recorded. Did them today. So once again, if I did anything or if I said anything that already happened, I do apologize. But that'll wrap it up for this Wednesday edition of the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all for tuning in and joining the live stream. And for the audio listeners, do appreciate you as well. Rate the podcast on whatever you are listening to. It does help us out a lot here at the GSMC Sports Network. Also, if you are on YouTube, like and subscribe to this show. It goes a long way. If you want to also follow more GSMC Sports Network content and updates, you can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the GSMC Sports Network. And once again, we appreciate all the support. All of you guys have a fantastic fantastic and safe 4th of July weekend, and have a wonderful and fantastic evening on top of that.
Let's go.